Everyone. So since getting WWE 2K25, I've spent almost all of my time playing MyGM, and MyGM has been an absolutely phenomenal mode. There are some things I'm obviously, I've struggled with, as you can see through the playthrough that we've been uploading, but I don't think any of it is necessarily the game's fault. So I want to start quickly with a few of the things that I don't love because there was so much that I do love. So for starters, one of the things I don't love is that, when you're putting together a wrestling show, when you're putting together a wrestling promotion, you know, this idea that you can have a wrestler do a promo, but he can't have a match, or a run in, but he can't do a match if he does the run in. I just don't love that. I think the universe mode gives you this open sandbox for you to do whatever you want. And my GM, which in my opinion should be just as sandboxy, really kind of limits your options. Like I almost feel like the two modes, and I'm not saying they should be, but it's almost like if you combined the two modes, you'd get a better mode. Like I don't like the idea that, well, you have to have the really small guy go up against the really big guy just for the sake of it being a better match. Like, does that really make a better match in real life? I don't know. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. This idea that you always have these perfect styles in a WWE ring, I don't think that that's the case. So I understand they have to do it partly because they want to give people an ability to and we'll get to that in the good sections, but I understand that they want to make sure that people understand how you can win in the mode, right? So if it was just a free for all, people might get kind of frustrated because they're like, I don't know how to win. I just think it's a little bit too archaic in that, or is archaic the right word? I don't think that's the right word either. It's a little bit just too much of like, I feel like my hands are being tied behind my back while I'm playing. Okay, that's number one. The second thing is, and this could be 100% me, and just me. Maybe it's how I'm playing, but I feel like the actual stamina of your wrestlers is nowhere near what it should be. Right? Like I feel like if like I have no problem with them saying, look, you have to have a guy take off a week. You can't just have him wrestling every single week and expect that that's going to take care of the stamina. But I feel like if you give a guy a week off to go and do a promo instead of actually wrestle, that should do a significant amount for his stamina bar. Whereas when I do it, I felt like every day, every week, I was fighting against the stamina, right? I was fighting against I was like, okay, I really want to set up this feud, but I can't because I just didn't like that aspect of it. But those are the only two things that I really disliked. So let's get on to the things I liked. For starters, I think the more you play it, which is to me the test of any good mode, the more you begin to understand it. So our playthrough that we're doing now is very simply a normal mode. Okay, so it's not the hardest difficulty; it's the medium difficulty that they got, and I started on the most cash that you could have. And as I've gone through, I've been able to very easily kind of understand the mistakes I've been making, right? So one of the mistakes I talked about early is if you go and you watch those videos, you'll see them. One of the mistakes I talked about early was I was putting a little bit too much of those special matches on my Raws and well, I guess I was ECW, but on my everyday every week show, and the reason why that becomes a problem is because, sure, you maybe are giving yourself higher ratings for your show, but you're also spending money that you could be saving up. And so I've realized that part of my issue and the reason I haven't been able to stack as much cash as I would like to is that, it's because I'm spending so much of it. Also, you need money to re-sign your people. So when you have somebody that needs to be signed again, if you don't have the cash on hand, you're in trouble. You may lose a very talented star because of that. And even though it was a little bit frustrating in the moment, I think it's good because you learn from it and you know going forward. Like that to me is the key in a mode like that. You have to be able to learn from your mistakes. As long as you know what you're doing, you could find a way, around it. Because and this goes back to the stamina thing too, because this next thing I really like are the power cards. I think the power cards add an interesting element to the show. And not to spoil the end of season one for the MyGM playthrough, but one of the interesting things about that playthrough, and one of the things I loved a lot, like I really, loved it a lot, was that I had I think it was Stephanie McMahon, she played a power card on me on the last week, okay, this was going into my pay-per-view, that took out like 5 of my wrestlers for 1 week, and so I had to, on the fly, rebook a pay-per-view. Like, I didn't even have all of the thing like, all my plans were up in the air, and this was like we were neck and neck in terms of the rating, so I had to figure it out, and we were I'm not gonna tell you how it ended up, but having something like that happen, I thought was well, it was really frustrating at the time, and I probably hated it in the time, but looking back, it was really a cool thing, right? That to me is an element of, wow, that's something cool. The only other option that I would like to see, I think, is, you know, number one, and this once again, this could be this could just be my skill level, but I would like to see it a little bit easier for you to actually build out what you're doing. Because like I said, I'm rarely kind of using all those other assets. Maybe I should be, but I just always feel like I'm running out of money. So I don't feel like I could go out and get the big stars. I don't think I can go out and have like these major big time shows. So yeah, so overall, the My Gym's a great mode. I think they should keep it in, and I'm going to be playing the hell out of it because it is fantastic. But part of me wonders if there could be something as it pertains to going in the future of if they could really revitalize that mode, or I don't even think revitalize is the right word, but rethink that mode in its entirety. Because what I would love to see is more of a like let's say it was okay, you start in back in the days of the territories, and you have to build out and kind of go at the different territories and win over different territories and expand and do that stuff. I think that kind of mode would be super super cool if they could put that into a video game, because really you're only going off fan metric, for what you're doing in this version of my GM. And I think that just it's not that it's not cool, but you don't feel quite as competitive against some of these other things, especially when you're really kicking their butt. So thank you all for watching. That's my thoughts on the My GM mode in WWE 2K25. We're going to keep playing it. So far, I love the game.